our top targets, our trade candidates, I would say, heading into training camp. That list included Zach Gentry, Kevin Dotson, and Alex Highsmith. The fourth-year linebacker is coming off 14 and a half sacks. The league in forced fumbles with 5. Do you look at him and at any moment, have you thought Alex Highsmith is on the trading block and this is a possibility? Or is this just kind of, spitballing, shooting into the dark, hoping that you catch something?
Yeah, I think it's just one of those things where you get a good player on the last year of his contract and everybody says, oh, well, they don't want to pay him. They can't pay him. They got to trade him. So I'm not saying the Steelers just hang up the phone before like an offer even gets, put out into the air, but I would be really surprised if they seriously consider trading Alex Highsmith. I mean, I think 2023, we've talked about this a couple times, but 2021 was kind of a transition. You got your transition and rebuild years in the last 2 years for the Steelers, getting a rookie quarterback in there, Ben retiring. But I think 2023, they're definitely trying to win. Like they're trying to make the playoffs. The Steelers are a lot better team with Alex Highsmith in the fold. So I just don't see them trading him. Even if contract negotiations go south, say that they aren't able to, work out a long-term deal before the regular season starts, I still think Highsmith is going to play. He's going to play out the final year of his contract. And then once that happens, we'll revisit what happens in the offseason next year, whether that's the franchise tag, whether, he actually hits free agency, the open market. I just really don't see a scenario where, Highsmith is seriously, definitely not being shopped, but probably still not even accepting offers for real. So,
yeah, I agree. I think, don't get me wrong, Omar Khan would answer the phone for everybody and talk about a trade possibility with every single person. But he's made it very clear that, cutthroat sort of guy, in and out of conversations. This is what I'm offering. Is it a good deal? No. Can we work? No. Okay, let's move on. Unless somebody's calling and they're like, hey, we're going to give you 2 first-round picks for Alex Highsmith or this or that, I doubt Omar Khan's letting that conversation last more than 10 seconds to 30 seconds. He's going to move on. Alex Highsmith is a piece, like at this point, he's not Bud Dupree. I think that's the conversation that people want to try to have here, those that would trade him. I don't think that there's many out there that would. I don't think that the Steelers fan base is sitting around going, Alex Highsmith, we should probably get rid of this guy. You look at him, he's not a Bud Dupree. He's already developed. He's already the player that you want him to be opposite of TJ Watt. There's no question marks left. It's just a matter of, can you sign this guy to a reasonable deal, which I guess that's where the conversation goes next. You look at him right now, first off, do you expect the deal to get done before training camp? And what do you think? I mean, we've talked about the number before being 14, 15 million. What do you think is the park minimum? What do you think that, if the Steelers look at this and say, because that was part of the conversation when it came to Bleacher Report, was the Steelers are already $6.5 million over the cap next season. You look at Alex Highsmith's deal. Do you think that there's something in there that, you'd say maybe he does take a team-friendly deal and this is the price for it?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, it's awesome because I literally just dropped an Alex Highsmith video on my channel earlier today. So I've already done the video. I've already done the research on this. So, yeah, I've talked about this at length, but, I really think that the $15 million range is probably that's probably the hometown discount, in my opinion, of what could potentially get it done. Anything less than that, man, you're getting into the John Franklin Myers type of category. 15 million is also where like Hassan Reddick's deal is that he signed with Philly a little while ago. So, but those guys are designated pass rushers. Alex Highsmith plays every snap. So there's a little bit a difference in the value, in my opinion, between those type of players. 15 million, I think, is probably the cheapest that they're going to be able to get him for. I know some people have floated out like 12 to 15. I would be kind of surprised about that. If you look at the other edge rushers that are around the same age, heading into, what we consider the prime of his career, I'd be surprised if it came in earlier, but I do think, it's really a matter of what Highsmith wants to do, right? Does he want to try to cash out? This is his best opportunity to do so, or does he value, maybe taking a little bit less money to stay in Pittsburgh? Because, Harold Landry for the Titans, got $17.5 million before last season. Landry and Highsmith are probably pretty comparable rushers. Landry gets a lot of his production off some of the games that they run in Tennessee up front. Highsmith's more of a one-on-one guy. And then really, like, I look at it in terms of if he really, really wants to cash out. Bradley Chubb, the Dolphins traded, all that draft capital to get Chubb last season. They gave him a deal that's $110 million, $22 million per season. If you look at the numbers side by side, he's been more productive than Bradley Chubb. So there's a potential that his agent's pushing him like, hey, look, we need to go, tell the Steelers, hey, look, you're more productive than this guy. This is what the market is. That's what they got to pay up for. I don't think the Steelers are going to go over like that. Definitely not over that 20 million mark. I would be really surprised if that happened. But he's got some good leverage, man. I mean, edge rushers, they get paid. If he hits the open market, he's going to get a bag.
Yeah, I agree with that one. I like this comment here. I don't think that the Steelers can afford to pay him what he deserves. I think that's huge because I don't think that the Steelers could afford to pay him what he deserves because I think, just like you said, like if he hit the open market, Alex Highsmith is going to get paid, I mean, almost double what he would get paid in Pittsburgh. Because I think that the Steelers are going to look at this and they're going to start somewhere around like 12, maybe 11 million. Spotrac's got his market value at 4 years or $55.6 million, which isn't even $12 million a season. If that's what they're working with, if that's what he ends up getting, he could get 20 plus. Steal. That's a steal. But do you think that's even a possibility? Like, do you think that the Steelers could come to this kid with a hometown offer and he'd take it? Because, I think that he is very successful in Pittsburgh and the grass is not always greener. And Bud Dupree's a good example of that, along with a lot of other players. On top of the Pittsburgh Steelers being a young team with a lot of talent right now, like this is, if you're looking at the life cycle of the NFL, this is a good one to be on. Do you take that over the money? Do you think that's, knowing what we know about Alex Highsmith right now, do you think that's, a real conversation he'd have? Do you think that he'd talk about going to get the bag?
Yeah, I mean, just looking at their cap situation next season, looking at over the cap, $13.5 million under the salary cap for next season. They've got 47 players signed. You've got restriction options for Fitzpatrick and Watt that could save you, close to 20 million. The first year of his deal is probably going to be the lowest cap hit number, just how NFL contracts are typically structured, especially with the Steelers. Cam Hayward in 2024, assuming, this isn't his last year and he doesn't just up and retire or anything like that. That's also 2024 is the last year of his deal. So when Highsmith would get expensive is when Hayward would be off the books. So if you really are intent about paying, 3 defensive players big money, you could make those 3 players, Fitzpatrick, Watt, and Highsmith. If you see Highsmith as that type of foundational piece and you really think that he's that important, I definitely think that there's a potential for him to stay. In terms of a hometown discount, man, I think it's impossible to gauge that, because players have to say the right things publicly. Alex has came out and said, he wants to stay in Pittsburgh, and I have no doubt that he does. I mean, I'm sure you develop relationships. You don't want to up and move your family, things like that. But at the same time, he's in line for a once in a lifetime opportunity. How many people, not just in football, but just in life, are able to, secure generational wealth with your next contract? This is a big decision. And 12 to 15 million, there's a big difference between those two numbers. But they're putting their bodies on the line, and, you got to really try to maximize your athletic lifespan. And I think that's, I can't fault anybody for doing that, so I don't know. We'll have to see. I think that the negotiations will definitely go all the way up until the regular season. I would just personally, I would be really, really surprised if he signed for something less than like right at that 15 million mark before the season starts. Because I think he's leaving so much money on the table. And even though I like Alex Highsmith, I think he's a very, very good player, I would be a little bit apprehensive about paying him in that $20 million mark. I think that if he has another productive season, like I think he's going to have, provided he's healthy, when he hits the open market next season and the Steelers don't franchise tag him, he's going to get to that $20 million mark with another productive season. So I would be very, very apprehensive about signing some type of 4-year deal for $12 million per year or anything like that. That people are kind of suggesting right now on social media.
No, I agree. And I do want to make it clear that I'm always for players getting the bag every single time. You know what I mean? Like if the decision is to stay with the Steelers and take this much money or go to free agency and get this much money, go to free agency. You know,
Yeah.
get the bag, man. You deserve it. Just knowing the work that these guys put into it, go get the bag. It's always deserved.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I think that you look at this entire situation and it's just like, what's the worst case scenario for the Steelers is to get a deal done. Is if they don't get a deal done this season, do you think that there's even a possibility they could get a deal done next year? Because at that point, like that line is thin. That ice is as thin as it gets for the Steelers. And you know that Alex Highsmith's agent is not going to be sitting there going, yeah, we should negotiate with Pittsburgh first and potentially take less money. If you're on the line of free agency, you're going to free agency.
Yeah, it's really tough. I mean, of course, you always do have the fallback option of the franchise tag, but you know the franchise tags. That's a pretty penny, man. And Highsmith would he would kind of have to take his game to a whole different level this season. You know, we saw him take a big jump last year, but he'd have to go up another level to really be considered in that type of tier, in my opinion. But like I said, man, guys that hit the open market, I mean, they get paid more. That's the thing about free agency and really how the NFL works in general. You feel your needs, you know, through free agency, you draft players for talent. And that's kind of the way for, you know, to have success at this level. So, you know, teams are going to go into the offseason next year with pass rushing needs. They're going to need guys that can get after the passer and create pressure on quarterbacks. And Highsmith's going to be one of the best available options, if not the best available option. So,
yeah, I agree. Well, unless, you know, maybe Chase Young's out there. You never know. You never know. You never know. Would you sign if you were another team before we talk about the wide receivers? If you were another team, you're sitting there, you need an edge rusher. Chase Claypool or Chase Young, Alex Highsmith are on the market. They're both going for the same price. Who you signing?
I would take Highsmith right now until I saw Young be healthy. I need to see him you know, bounce back and stay healthy. I think Young's a really good player, and I actually think that he could potentially have a really big season this year with Washington because I think he's mostly back. But when I was watching his film, you know, a month or so ago, I did see him kind of holding back a little bit on that knee. So, and usually, you know, it does take a full season of, you know, working out and getting used to, you know, trusting that leg again. So I think Young's a fantastic player. He's one of the best edge rusher prospects I feel like that I've watched in the last, you know, 5, 6, 7 years. But it's been unfortunate, you know, that really big injury kind of zapped some of his momentum that he had coming off that really, really productive rookie season of his.
Yeah. So you're going Alex Highsmith as of right now.
I'm going Alex Highsmith though.
I like that.
As of right now.